You just got lazy. Huh?
By gathering, we'll get started. It's time I call a regular council meeting back in session. At this time, it's all right, we'll move back to item number 8, Tri-County Technical College. Time I like that, I think Gotham's here from Tri-County Tech to get up and say a few words and information, would appreciate it.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, council, for giving us this minute to speak. And what it's about, we're wanting to lease that piece of property, and we have reasons for doing that. During the past year, Tri-County Tech has developed a program that's offered statewide in training and certifications for South Carolina Department of Transportation contractors. And we have people coming from all over the state to do that training. We offer certifications in earthwork, coarse aggregate, asphalt production and placement, bridge foundation, and then we developed the first course in the state of South Carolina and in the southeastern United States in pre-employment construction inspection training. What this does is allow people to be hired without having a long wait time to get the certifications to be qualified to do work under DOT contracts. In doing that, you say, well, what does that have to do with this? Opportunities begin to grow. In meeting with these companies across the state of South Carolina and in Anderson, Oconee, and Pickens County, we have a lot of requests to do heavy equipment training. Not only that, we're looking at implementing in the first quarter. We would have the first training class for heavy equipment, first quarter 2012. The second thing is we'd have the second quarter of 2012, we'd have asphalt paving, how to actually do it and do it properly so you have less residue or destruction taking place. And then at the same time, we would have core pre-employment training starting also in the first quarter of 2012. We already have grant money secured to actually pay for some of that training. But the problem you get into in today's technology, heavy equipment's just like any other job. Technology is continuing to evolve. And as it evolves, you got computer-controlled machines instead of steering wheels. They have joysticks. They have computers. They measure the GPS tracking, the slope and the angles of their equipment as they run. Companies have told us we cannot buy the most modern equipment because we don't have the people trained to operate them. So we have to use less efficient, less quality equipment. What we're looking at doing is, first of all, in first place, is doing heavy equipment training there at that piece of property. The second thing that we'd be doing, we'd actually be training people how to properly lay asphalt. And there would probably be some research connected to what we're doing in Pendleton with our facility now. The research is to actually train the students how to use the knowledge that they've received in the classroom and apply it in the particular job. So that's what we're looking at doing at that piece of property, if you are gracious enough to let us use it.
I think we appreciate it. Anybody have any questions or any comments this time? Crowder?
What is the timeline? I mean, number one, do you have the money to go forward? I mean, just playing the game that if council were to, when is all this going to happen? Or is this sort of a delayed phase?
Well, if you tell us no, then I have to pull back and cancel 2 people being sent to Florida to
I didn't say that. I said if we said yes.
If you said yes, we would be training people in April and March.
But there's nothing out there.
Well, with heavy equipment, that's what I need to be able to push dirt and move that type of stuff to train people.
Oh, really, you just want a pile of dirt?
That's exactly what I'm looking for, about an acre and a half, and then we'll be actually doing a little bit more when we get into putting down asphalt.
So there would be no real buildings out there?
We're not looking at building.
And no infrastructure?
No, sir.
Nothing glamorous that people can look at and say, we have more than a pile of dirt out there?
Well,
I'm just teasing.
I know you are, but the thing is that there's a need for that in the marketplace, in particular our area, and we look forward to that in training people to actually get jobs, and that's what it's all about, taking that person that's unemployed. The grant that we've applied for that we're going to be getting through a company called A Square Consulting out of Rock Hill, we will be doing training of 35 people. They will be of the Anderson, Oconee, and Pickens area, and they will be trained. The criteria is we have to put them to work in construction jobs on highway. So it's a matter of putting people to work, and that's what we try to do in the corporate community ed division at Tri-County. That's what I'm responsible for.
Ms. Wilson.
Hi, Mr. Cothran. Thank you so much for coming. Does this proposal in any way compete with Clemson programs?
What Clemson program?
I'm just asking.
No.
Okay. And second, the request was for 77 acres, but you're only asking for an acre and a half.
Well, that's the start with the heavy equipment because of the actual runoff associated with that. We want to limit that process. But when we go to doing the laying of asphalt, we'd need a little bit more area where we lay and take up as we go in at that point. There are some other plans we have. If they come to attrition, we'd be willing to talk about them. At this point, I cannot speak about some of the other things we're working on. And I'm not being evasive from you on that.
Well, you know, there are a lot of landowners in this county who would love to pay a lot less to get property cleared and so forth. Have y'all considered maybe offering your services in return for training and that sort of thing around the county, maybe working with other landowners and getting a variety of experiences for your students?
Yeah, so that's what we was planning on with that 66 acres, is getting it close to where the building's going to be, and this it goes in conjunction with the Quick Job Center that will be built later on this year. As we move forward with that, we've got to have property, and that's one of the classes we'll be putting in that. There was a program in Anderson County about a year and a half ago, and it was very successful, but it left the county and moved to Texas because they could make a little more profits, what I was told.
I'm sorry.
There was a heavy equipment training company in Anderson County,
okay.
and it left to go to Texas so it could make a little bit more money. That's what I was told.
Well, I guess the economy, wasn't it Rick Perry who said
it's tough
for growing industries in Texas? Well, this is very intriguing. So you have a greater plan that you're not going to share all the details with us tonight.
Presently, what I'm planning on doing is doing heavy equipment training, paving with asphalt training, core training for highway construction, which is flagger, safety, and et cetera, to get people into the entry-level jobs. We are doing some research at Pendleton, and we do have a research grant there, and we're moving forward with that. And so there'll be some things applicable in that when we're dealing with aggregate and also dealing with earthwork, when you go to dealing with moisture level, content of soil, actual soil buildup, and et cetera. So we'll be doing some of that.
Thank you.
Okay?
Ms. Floyd next.
I'm very excited. What you're telling us, as I understand it, is that you're asking for a little piece of our land, and on this little piece of our land, you, representing Tri-County Tech, want to start another class. And this class is going to be how to operate heavy equipment.
Correct.
And they will train these people to be heavy equipment operators, and it'll be about, what, 20 to 35 people, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and these people will come out of this class with a license, a certificate, or whatever it takes to drive those things on the highway. For example, DOT. But DOT is not the only entity that would hire. We have Pickens Construction Company here too, and other constructions company. What you're telling us now is that you are showing us a way to get our people trained for a valuable career, not a job. You're telling us now that we will have people coming in from all over the state maybe for this training, and they will be bringing their money with them. You're giving us an opportunity Is this the only facility like that in the state?
In what we're doing on the heavy equipment, no, there'll be other people, but what we're working on would cover more than the state of South Carolina.
Okay, but wait a minute. So there is another facility in South Carolina that offers this training?
That offers heavy equipment. There are not any other ones offering asphalt that I know of.
Oh, so we're going to do the asphalt too?
Yes.
So Anderson would be the only one with the asphalt. And all you need from us is what now?
We need about 66 acres, but right now I need 1.5 acres to get the heavy equipment up and going.
So with 1.5 acres,
Right.
no money,
That's right.
just 1.5 acres of land that's not being used anyway,
Correct.
we could get this thing started up by, when did you say?
First class is scheduled to start in the first quarter of 2012, which would be 3 months from now.
Mr. Tri-County Tech, this is a no-brainer. It is a no-brainer. Okay, all right.
Okay.
I sure do thank you for bringing that to us.
Thank you.
And I am sure hoping that Anderson County would jump at this opportunity without picking it to death. Okay, and I thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Mr. Moore's, he hadn't got a chance to.
Well, I think you answered it, but what's the total acreage that you're going to need?
At the startup, we're going to need a small amount.
Yeah.
But we would need more than that as we continue to move forward and the program grows.
So you're talking about you're going to need all the 70-something acres?
We probably would in the end. If the program meets what the criteria, in other words, we don't want to start a program, we're going to have a small amount here, and then all of a sudden you got to go find another place. We'd like to grow the program to meet the needs in the area and also in the upper state area also.
Is Oconee and Pickens County going to join in some of the cost on this too, or are they going to join in the program?
I have not asked anybody for any money at this point. I went out and secured a grant with connection with A Square to do training of 35 people. As part of my operational expense, I'm sending 2 people to Florida to be trained in NCCER certifications, and so we will start the class up and going with that. We will rent the bulldozers, the front-end loaders, and the scrapes, and then we'll be renting the actual asphalt laydown equipment when we're ready to offer those for the local companies. And King Asphalt's one of them, Pickens is another one, and some of the other companies we deal with. Core training has been requested by several of the companies in the upstate without going into laborious details of who and how. We meet with them on a continuous basis. And we have classes on a continuous basis. Last year we trained about 150 people in asphalt, earthwork, and aggregate training. It's new classes that we've not had at Tri-County Tech.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
This is a very, very exciting proposal, and there should be no obstacle. However, we're still paying on that land. It was a $1.1 million purchase, and that's the consideration we're going to have to wade through. And another, just a suggestion, I'm sure you've already thought about this. Have you contacted some of the big heavy equipment companies like Caterpillar and Komatsu and those companies to see if they would be willing to participate in some way?
I try to do my job thoroughly.
Okay.
Without saying anything else.
I remember years ago I knew the Caterpillar dealer down in Georgia, and he and the Komatsu guy would end up at the same bar a couple of nights a week, and there would be fisticuffs every time they got together.
I haven't got to that yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Mr. Alley?
Mr. Chairman, yeah, just very quickly, of the 77 acres, does DHIC have to get involved at all? I think are there any wetlands out there or anything? Since you're going to be moving a lot of dirt, does DHIC have to have any say-so in it? I don't know.
We haven't looked at it at this point. What we first want to do is see if you're willing to work with us to let us use the property, and then from that we begin to pursue and look at what we need to look at. And when you're moving property, my understanding, if we stay within less than 1 acre to 1.5 acres, we can have the control, and we don't have to have as much silt fence from runoff and protection, this type of stuff. Because we're going to dig holes, cover them up, dig holes, and cover them up.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Ms. Floyd?
Rick.
He's talking to Mr. Burns.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Burns,
Yes, ma'am.
we purchased the land.
Yes, ma'am.
What did we buy it for?
I have no idea.
I didn't think you did. I don't think anybody did. I'm going to tell you why we bought it, okay? We bought that particular land because we felt that in the future, this land could be used, could be turned over to do something that would benefit our citizens of Anderson County who paid the tax money to buy the land. We didn't buy the land for it just to sit there and for us to look at it. We want to make something out of it. And by doing something like this, our people will be able to get training, and we will get, it'll be an indirect income for Anderson County, but it will be an income still. So I'm not really concerned about the land and all of that stuff. We bought it, so let's use it.
Thank you.
Anyone else down that way? Have anything?
That's it.
Well, Con, thank you. It's a very exciting project, and look forward to being able to try to get something worked out. Thank you so much.
That's good.
Moving on to item number 13, approval of public safety grants. John, skip Mr. Sheriff. Mr. Burns, you going to take?
Meeting in Powdersville, and he asked me to do this for him. What you have before you, one is a grant. This grant has already been through the Finance Committee. This is adding additional money. The first one involves equipment for the Emergency Operations Center. It is not specific to any one location at this point in time, but it will go primarily to the 911 center, and it would be an increase of $15,545. The Anderson County Grant Fiscal Impact Form is before you.
I have that. Thank you.
The next one, Mr. Chairman, is to reestablish the Civilian Emergency Response Team. That grant is in the total of $24,000. The original grant went through the Finance Committee. This is additional money. You will notice in both of these there is not a match, and it will be basically no expense going forward.
Is that it, Mr.?
That's it.
We have a motion. Y'all looking for something?
So move.
Motion, Ms. Floyd, have a second.
Second.
Take Mr. Allen, discussion. If all in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Anything else, Mr. Burns?
That's it on that subject.
Moving on to item number 14, approval of recreation grants. Matt Shell. Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council. This evening I'd like to present 4 HARD applications that we've recently submitted to legislative delegation. Mountain View, Susan Street, Wellington Park, and Double Springs. They all have a matching award request, varying matches by the county council. And I'm here to answer any questions anybody may have, but certainly seek the blessing.
You did mention Susan Street, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am.
You did mention Susan Street, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am.
That one. You know, when we...
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. When we talked on the telephone, when I talked with Sharon on the telephone, the request wasn't $2,000.
Now, the match itself that she mentioned was $1,550. In order to, there's a 12% limit on professional services. What we're seeking to do is secure a grading plan and rough grading for the site. What that does require is topo. Topo is approximately $450 per acre. So that is added to the $1,550 to bring us to $2,000.
All right, but the PART grant has not been, we don't have it yet. We have applied for it, am I correct?
Correct. We don't know if we'll receive any of the 4 or a fraction of the 4.
Okay, so what you're wanting now is for us to put up the matching fund for it?
Not necessarily. More than anything, to bring your attention to
Okay.
the 4 PAR grants that have been submitted to
Okay.
legislative delegation.
All right.
But a match request is not at this time.
Okay,
But keep in mind, if you was alluding to, at some point, if this is approved, we'll have to have a mansion things to come from.
Right.
Oh,
And if the 1550 that Sharon mentioned to you, more amenable to giving your rec funds, we can look into the difference between the 2,000 and 1,500 and see what we can do to find a happy medium.
yeah, because we didn't discuss $2,000, and we just
She mentioned
discussed-
she mentioned
It's 1,500,
and she ballparked it at 1,500.
Well, that's what I don't know, but anyway, thank you.
Chairman,
Crowder?
when would the county know whether you're going to get the grant?
I believe within a month.
Within a month. So that means that the county would have to ante up the grant right after that.
Not necessarily. There's a 2-year period for these funds to be spent. So they
Year period.
wouldn't necessarily need to be spent. They could be held until next fiscal year. We still have a couple projects that we're trying to wrap up from the last grant cycle, so it wouldn't be immediate.
So at the next budget cycle, we would still have to come up with the matching money.
Correct. Some
which
of them,
Your target is for council members to pledge it out of their recreation account.
correct. There are certainly some critical issues with some of the parks that would require a quick response.
So my only point is, since there's no money in the budget for this, the only source of money would be from council members' recreation account. So, and I'm not covered in one of these, so I don't have to worry about it.
Do we have a motion?
A motion to do what now?
We have a motion, Mr. Moore, to move these forward, to apply for these grants.
To apply for the grant? Yes, but not to, okay. Thank you.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Allen. Any discussion?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Allen. I'm
I was
sorry.
just going to
Go
say,
ahead, Mr.
I
Allen.
think, Matt, maybe if you just go through the step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so everybody's really clear on how it works. These are just the grants that are requests that we're going in for PARD grants, which will go to
There'll be
the delegate.
grants that were applied, they have to be presented to legislative delegation before
Yeah.
the December 7th meeting.
And then which will be tomorrow, and then the delegation will decide which ones.
They rank and prioritize their funding the projects. There's only $27,000 this year available to PARD. Last year there was approximately 47. So we're certainly at a bit of a shortfall. So depending on the ranking by legislative delegation, that will determine whether or not a project is awarded and endorsed by a legislative delegation. Now, before, it was important for us to contact each of the council members where a project was in their district to seek their permission to move forward, to put it in the hands of legislative delegation. They were on the docket for the Finance Committee agenda, but then we had to move that date. So that's why it's coming before you now.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Matt.
Forward.
Yes, my question is, what was the total amount of money we are requesting from PARD?
$24,800.
$24,800. And what's the total amount that you're requesting from the rec funds?
It's listed as $10,900. However, some of that can be done in-house from services. So it'd be in-kind services.
Okay, now, what is the total amount of dollars that could be, may I use the word gotten for lack of a better word? It could be gotten
Total
from,
amount available is $27,700.
that's not my question though.
My
What
apologies.
is the total amount of money that we could get from the accommodations tax in the first year if we would go that way?
My understanding is around $3 million.
$3 million for a tax that we already paying Did you eat out last week, Mr. Burns? Where did you go, Mr. Burns?
A little bit of everywhere.
You ate out all over Anderson County?
All over Anderson County would be an accurate description.
Okay, so it's more likely you paid that tax, don't you?
I know I did Friday night.
Okay, and you know all that money went to the city? Every dime went to the city, right? Here we are, we needing $24,000. We begging the people for 24, and then we got to come up with 10 when we could have $3 million. Thank you. I thank you.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so motion carried. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. This time I meant to do a little bit early. I want to welcome, we got a Boy Scout back there in the back. We want to welcome him, thank him. You know, we can help you. I think you told me you troop 210. So glad to have you here, and I'm sorry somebody left. I believe I meant to recognize him for another gentleman was here a while ago from the Boy Scout. Was he the same, different? 270. We are welcome y'all here and glad you're here tonight. If we can help you in any way, let us know. Thanks for coming. The approval of bids, and I don't believe there are none.
Mr. Burns, do you want to take care of that housekeeping matter, or you want to move it to the next meeting?
Mr. Crowder, I think we should do it now. With the permission of council, we would need to add an item to the agenda in order to be street legal. And what this is, and Mr. Crowder brought this to my attention, when we had the charter communications package presented to us, we went everywhere right up to it, and then we went in another direction. And I think it was the intent of council to approve it. And so just in order to be on the double safe side, it would be good for us to do that again. Mr. Crowder, you might want to provide some more input on that.
Well, actually, you know, we had a discussion of the communications bid by Charter Communications, and we did all the nice things about talking about it and the pros and cons, but we really never got around to asking for a motion and saying yes or no. And in fact, it was an item that says we need to do that, and we immediately went into actually appropriating money. If you read your minutes, where council members started giving away money out of their recreation. So, in the reading, I just called his attention that the item really never got approved.
I thought we did, but safe and sorry, I can't believe Mike Pittswood. I never let Attorney Pittswood ever let that slide. So, but
it wasn't your fault. We've all fault.
If this can I have a motion to amend the agenda to put this on there?
Second.
Motion, Mr. Moore, second, Ms. Wilson. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so motion carries unanimously. We have a motion. Moore makes the motion to approve the chart, to go ahead and make sure we double safe, to approve the charter contract on the 911 thing. Second, Ms. Wilson. Are there any discussion?
I could have sworn we passed that.
There too. I'm gonna go back and double check, but don't never hurt to be too careful. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries nasty. Item number 16, appointments. Boards. I believe I've seen Mr. Waters. Got any?
I don't have any at this time.
None at this time.
I don't have any.
I don't have none. Mr. Moore. Crowder.
I do have one. I would like to nominate Mr. Ed Dutton to the Planning Commission to take the place of Mr. Bob Martin, who has served with a lot of merit over several years. Mr. Martin notified me that they were going to be having a change of plans, and that he needed to come off the board at the last meeting in December. So I contacted Mr. Dutton. Mr. Dutton, one of the key things is he's the treasurer of right now of Cobb's Glen. So I've had the opportunity to meet with him on several occasions about highway issues, draining issues, irrigation issues, and other issues relative to Cobb's Glen, and he's always come across with professionally. So I would like for my fellow council members to consider him to be on the planning commission to take Mr. Martin's slot, effective January 1st.
We have a motion, have a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Moore. Any discussion?
Do we have his, oh, yeah, we
Yes,
have.
ma'am.
Okay, good.
Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like sign. So the motion carries unanimously. Anything else? Ms. Wilson, do you have any?
No.
Moving on to item number 17, request by council members. I hope y'all seen this and had this. We've gotten, should have been in the packet, and some here tonight we had an emergency thing come up from the Crime Stoppers are asking for and hold $1,000. The Shriners for the circus for the underprivileged kids. Is that right, Mr.
Yes, sir.
$400 for tickets for them. And the Anderson Heritage is asking for $5,000 to help with their tour they done last weekend, I'm sure. And so I'd like to start off, I give, right out of District 5's recreational account, $100 to the Shriners, $500 to the Anderson Area Crime Stoppers, $500 to the Anderson Heritage. Put that in form of a motion.
And
Second by Ms. Wilson. Any discussion? All in
yes,
favor?
Mr. Chairman,
Ma'am.
I may be overlooking the Shriners, but I don't see that in here.
Mr. Chairman, it may not be in there. The Shriners may not be in there. That was the request, but the supporting documentation should be there. If it's not, it's on the way. But this is the thing that council's traditionally done to send the underprivileged kids to school.
But I thought we were supposed to have that.
We're supposed to have it up here, so when is that thing?
I'm not sure the exact date, but we probably have time to fix it in 2 weeks.
Let's try to fix it, or you can get my pledge, I'll make it whole if we just get right documentation. So I withdraw that, and 500 to the Anderson Heritage and 500 to Crime Stoppers. I put that in form of a motion out of District 5's recreation account. Second, Ms. Wilson. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so motion carries unanimously. Mr. Waters?
I have two at this time. The first one is to appropriate $2,500 from my recreation account for the Hurricane Springs Park bathroom expansion phase 2. And the second one is for the 2011 Saluda River Rally, and that's the amount of $2,560 from the recreation fund. And I'll bring that as a motion.
We have a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Moore. Any discussion? Favor the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Allen?
I have none at this time.
Thank you. Ms. Floyd?
I have two at this time. I would like to appropriate from District 2's rec fund $500 to American Heritage, please. And I would like to appropriate $2,000 to the Crime Stoppers, Anderson Area Crime Stopper. That's in the form.
A motion. Got motion, right? Okay.
Picking up.
Okay, you got, we have a second.
Of a motion.
We have a second. Second, Mr. Moore. Any discussion? Favor the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like signs. Like anything else, Ms. Floyd?
That's it. Thank you.
Mr. Moore?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to appropriate from a recreational account of $2,800 to the Belton Recreation Department, City of Belton. That's all I have tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Second.
A motion from Mr. Moore of $2,800 Belton City Recreation Department. Second from Ms. Wilson. Any discussion? Favor the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Crowder?
I have none tonight, Chairman.
Thank you. Ms. Wilson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Holt Hopkins requested from District 7 paving account the remainder of that small account to go toward full depth patching for, I believe that's Murphy Road. Mr. Hopkins, is that correct? So the balance of District 7's paving account is $5,952.61, and I'll put that in the form of a motion.
That's out of the paving account of District 7. Second, Mr. Moore. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, You have something, Mr. Allen?
No, not on this, but I do have to say something.
Okay. All in favor, Ms. Wilson, do you have something?
Oh, yes, and I was going to do a couple of more. but
Okay.
Do those.
Okay, well, all in favor of this out of road account? So the motion carries unanimously. I'm sorry, Ms. Wilson.
And I was reviewing the application request from Shriners, and District 7 would like to appropriate $100 toward the Shriners request and $500 toward Crime Stoppers
Okay.
in the form of donation from.
And we're going to hold off on the Shriners until next meeting night. He said that'd be fine, huh? Shriners. Because we didn't have documentation. Mr. Burns said he feels like that'll be fine. So you want $500 to go to Crime Stoppers, is that correct? Have a motion to go $500 to go to Crime Stoppers. Have a second? Second, Mr. Moore. Any discussion? All in favor of Ms. Wilson's motion, show of hands. All opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Anything else, Ms. Wilson? Mr. Moore?
I'd like to give $250 to Crime Stoppers out of recreational.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Wilson. $250 out of Mr. District 3's recreation account. $250 go to Crime Stoppers. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Anyone else have anything?
Yes,
Mr.
Mr.
Allen.
Chairman, yeah, I may have missed something here, and I'll ask Mr. Hopkins on this. Out of my paving account on Homestead and Lakewood roads, that need to be brought up this evening?
Yes, sir, we request that you do. We're putting together the final touches on the contract.
Okay, and that was for a total of, looks like, what, 55? Was that 55,000?
Yes, sir, but you don't have that much. We're just asking that you do the remainder of it.
That was my question.
It was fixing to write a bad check.
That was my question. I can't do 55, but I can do the remainder of my balance here, which was 46,195.16, and I'd like to put that in the form of a motion.
Have a motion from Mr. Allen, come out of his paper. Second from Mr. Moore. Any further discussion? Favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like sign, so motion carried. Mr. Hopkins, I thought I might have overlooked. I didn't think it wasn't nothing out of my. Are they? I'm sorry. I thought it was said hold on, wait something about some covered work or something. What is it? If you don't mind.
In District 5, we're requesting the remainder of your funds to go toward Dixon and Prima Road. The remainder in your balance is $15,206.33.
I put that in the form of a motion. We're going to discuss the roads, though. I'll put the money up and get you to use that right there. Last time, I just want to make where I got property on Dixon Road, and I don't want everybody to think I'm just paving Dixon Road just for but I don't think where I'm at, that road will be paved. It's on that Dixon Road's a long road. But that is come from staff. I put that in form of a motion.
This is just patching, just to be clear.
Okay.
On Dixon, it's just patching.
Okay.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, I have one that I'd like to appropriate the remaining.
Okay.
I'd like to do the same thing, the remaining part, which is $16,803.56 to the full depth patching and single treatment recommendations. I'd like to bring that as a motion.
Have a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Allen. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Anything else? Moving on. Item number 18, Administrator's Report.
Mr. Chairman, just one thing is a reminder to members of council and the general public, the Anderson County Economic Development Advisory Board has a meeting tomorrow, December 7th at the Development Board, and it's at 8 a.m. if anyone would like to attend. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Ms. Floyd.
Let Mr. Hopkins do that.
Can you tell us about that?
They're it's a flight school, but they come in a lot to Anderson, and they just wanted to show us some kind of show the staff some kind of appreciation on the good service that they get every time they fly in. They were just wanting to recognize the staff for a job well done.
Oh, okay, all right. Also, could you tell us about the Clemson, is it the basketball team?
Yes, ma'am. They started their season of flying out of...
Wait a minute, background. Okay, go ahead.
They started their season last week flying in and out. They flew out to Iowa last week and come back. And the reason we appreciate that so much is because they bought over 1,000 gallons of fuel in the process.
Okay, so this is the first time they've done that?
For this year.
For this year?
Yeah, they've been flying in and out. The Clemson basketball teams, visitors and Clemson, has been coming and going out of Anderson Regional now for probably 3 or 4 years. And we love to see them come.
All right. Also, Mr. Hopkins and here, I have recently found out that we have a lot of big airplanes coming in and out. I saw the Mary Kay. May I say that? I saw the Mary Kay jet. I wanted to get on it, but they wouldn't let me. But there was a Mary Kay jet out there, and some other type of other big airplanes out there. Y'all need to go and just take a lunch and meet some wonderful people that's coming into our town. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank y'all. This time we'll have citizens' comments. When Pitts calls your name, please step forward and state your name and district again, and address the chair, please. Mr. Pitts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First up is Elizabeth Fant.
Hold on a second. Elizabeth Fant, District 3. Recently, a business associate told me about her working breakfast in Atlanta with Chick-fil-A. When someone cleared her plate, she discovered that it was none other than Truett Cathy himself, the CEO of Chick-fil-A. Not only that, everyone was given his private cell phone number and encouraged to call with any thoughts or ideas. Cathy answered those calls himself, indeed serving the public and satisfying the customer. A business succeeds which listens to a customer's responses, always gives his money's worth, and never forgets that the customer is king. Government could succeed if it followed essential good business principles and ethics. Sadly, often it does not. Many government employees, including county council and administration, have forgotten who they serve, who pays the bills, and who are their bosses and constituents. More interested in looking good, getting votes, controlling power, and protecting self-interest, they forget the very taxpayer they promised to serve. They trash the public who try to do their civic duty by attending meetings, doing research, volunteering, and asking intelligent questions. Isolated in their own stupidity, moved by a little strategic flattery, they pontificate on and advocate only issues that embellish their fragile egos. Instead of reaching out to knowledgeable people of integrity, they court those of questionable character, poor behavior, and ulterior motives. And doing so, they are tainted. Fearful of lawsuits, they operate in a channel of tunnel vision. But like the rising tide and crashing waves, their reign will be short-lived. Truett Cathy, 86, and Chick-fil-A still going strong, listening to the public, delivering a great product, a company staying in the block that closes on Sundays. I want to remind you all that this is now 3 years since November the 18th, 2008. It is still fresh in the minds of many. Elections are coming up, positions for chairman, for council, state elections, local elections, federal elections, presidential elections. The public is tired of hearing the same old thing. They want you to do what you promised to do, and if you're going to do it, it needs to start locally. If we can't get locally under control, we never will get federal, and that includes money. Thank you.
Mark Powell, District 7. Even though it was removed by Mr. Sorelli off the agenda tonight, item number 7 was a subdivision with 1,600 square foot requirements. They wanted to go to 12. Apparently, from what I read in the packet, some contractors built houses under 1,600 without permission, without changing the rules. Now, I really think it's really funny, Mr. Sorelli, who says there's wording that's not good. He's the gentleman who wrote that when he worked for y'all with Anderson County, with all the little gray matter. Now he's trying to gray matter his way out of a problem. I also find it interesting, if you will take the time to read your packet, people who live there sent you a letter of concern, and the last paragraph is the most interesting. Well, actually, they're all identical paragraphs, all three. They change the fonts to make you think they're different. But the last paragraph says, I am writing this without any request from any source as a homeowner, blah, blah, blah. All people wrote that, saying they have no request, and they're all identically worded. So obviously someone requested that they do it. They didn't follow the rules. Tell them to add on to their houses to make them 1,600 square feet. Do not give them this variance. They built without the rules. They got to pay the price. Next thing, Tri-County. Now that sounds good. But I want to know how many Democrats were on the committee council when this 60-something acres was bought for 1-point-something million that was unusable, unbuildable, can't do anything with, and thought it was such a great deal. At 60-something acres, at 1.2 million, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 an acre for land that you can't do anything with. That doesn't sound like an Einstein to me. It is a tri-county tech. If the other counties get the benefit from it, and they do, not just Anderson County, have the other two counties pony up 1/3 each, the $1.2 million, so it is therefore a tri-county property. If not, let tri-county use the property they have up there in Pendleton. Reports. Okay, ADA, we're going to spend a lot of money. It irritates me to no degree to ride down these streets and see roads with little blind little yellow bumps, like Clemson Boulevard. There is no sidewalks, but we spent hundreds of millions of dollars putting ADA, blind people, yellow bumps at every intersection, from here to Belton. Little yellow bumps at every intersection of every road. Okay, so if we got to do this at public parks, I would request that you shut down, give away, sell a lot of parks. Do not spend all this money making these parks, and the gazillions of them across the county. I can see little yellow bumps everywhere, so a blind person going in, and I don't have anything against blind people, but I have against millions of dollars being spent on Clemson Boulevard when there aren't even sidewalks at those intersections. 1 or 2% sales tax, we're not getting the benefit of it anyway. Well, the 7, 8, 9% you pay when you buy in the city, we do get the benefit of everything but the 2% or whatever it is the city adds. Please do not make that a county-wide thing. Yes, it is money. Yes, it would help you do things, but you know what? It's our money. Quit taxing us. It's our money. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pitts. Now we have comments from Councilman Mr. Waters.
I have none at this time.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I do have one. Allegra moved in this week, brought their last truck from California up at Piedmont off Highway 86. So they've finished moving in, and they're in full operation in Piedmont. So that's about 40 jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Allen.
I'd just like to thank the staff and the folks that did all the decorating here in the building and also helped with the Christmas parade and the courthouse across the street. They did a great job for the Christmas decorations. That was all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Floyd.
Yes, I have a couple of things. Number one, I want to thank the staff for taking my breath away tonight. When I saw the Christmas decoration across the street, it did really sincerely take my breath away. I think they did a wonderful job. And they put the, can you say Christmas now? Yeah, okay. But it really put the Christmas spirit in my heart, and I just want to thank them for doing that. Number two, I want to talk about this, Mr. Administrator. I want to talk about this.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Who did this for us?
Finance Department.
And who did the pictures and everything?
Public information.
All right. Would you please tell public information that I'm not on here?
I will be happy to.
Now, I am not on here. Anybody who looks like me is not on here.
Yes, ma'am.
Please remind them that all of us pay the same taxes. We all pay for everything here. And please remind them that Anderson County is more than about boating and fishing. Okay, but I am really kind of ticked that I'm not represented. My race is not represented. Okay, and I've asked this before, but this has got to stop. It's a new day here now. Okay, and my third thing is I'm a little disappointed on what I've been seeing from some of our employers. Professionalism means a lot when you can do it. Sometimes people won't let you be professional, and you have to be what you have to be. But the way we come to work looking should always be professional. Now, I am not professional all the time, but when I come up here, I try to be. I try my best to be. You will never see me up here in blue jeans, nor will you see me up here in flip-flops and just everything else. I would like to see our workers, our employees, do a little better with the way they're dressed. Mr. Burns, you are always professional. I have never seen you without your tie and I like that. But I think it needs to be passed down now to everybody else. It's not that expensive to dress. I bet you if a nightclub was in town and everybody was getting ready to go to this party, this nightclub, they'll dress then. What's wrong with dressing for the public on our jobs? And that's all I have to say, and I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Floyd, Mr. Moore.
Just want to remind everybody, Iowa has their Christmas parade at 2 o'clock on Saturday. Always kind of a unique little Christmas parade, so if anybody want to have some fun, come down. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crowder.
I'd like to thank all the staff for their hard work for the citizens of Addison County. Oftentimes, people work in their particular areas that they don't have the opportunity to interface with the citizens, and they sometimes feel like nobody really cares what they do. And certainly those are, in many cases, unseen heroes. And I think each one, it's been a wonderful year. I would like to announce that we will have a Finance Committee meeting on Friday, this time at 1 o'clock instead of 2 o'clock, so that we can be through before 5 o'clock. And we will have some interesting things on the agenda.
Anything else, Mr. Crowder?
No, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I echo Mr. Crowder's sentiments. There was information that I requested last minute on some items, and miraculously, Ms. Rita and our council staff were able to provide this just to flesh out some of what has been talked about. The airport property was purchased by a special source revenue bond, and I either voted against it or abstained because there were so many strange little projects in it. But one was to purchase a 76+ acre parcel, and then I think a 9-acre and a 6 or 7 acre parcel. It's important for our taxpayers to know that the councilman who failed to recuse himself on that measure received a commission from that sale. And that might answer a question of why the county purchased a very expensive piece of property for which we had no use. Now, hopefully we can make lemonade out of this lemon, and I'll put forth my diligence, as I know y'all will too, to try to correct this and make it of use to the county taxpayers. The other, in reference to the item that was tabled or pulled, this is the rezoning, or I should say a variance on planned use development for the Vandiver Road property. That was a very, very controversial item that came before the council, I think about 2 or 3 years ago. It was before this 2009 council was seated. There were people packed in here. They were highly opposed to making the parcels of land smaller. I can't remember if it was R20, which would have been like a half-acre lot, or RA1, which would have been a 1-acre lot. But the residents around there packed this chamber, very vocal opponents to that. And I think it's very disingenuous to have letters in there purporting by residents who lived there that they're all for our passing permission for those developers to sell those 2 houses. However, when you look at what was actually handed to us, the developers wanted us to give them permission to build everything else out there 1,200 square feet. And you know, the whole thing here is even poor folks deserve to live in a decent house. And this is a particular development situation that has been allowed to fester here in this county. I could give you a number of examples of developers who got special dispensations, and now, as time goes forward, our public will end up having to pay a high price for those special dispensations. We also had requested that that developer look at doing the measures to get their traffic in and out of that development, because it's right over a blind hill from Hannah High School. And you know what it's like around our schools when school starts every morning and pick-up time, and you've got people trying to go to work or get children there. That was never done. Anyway, there were also drainage issues. There were environmental, stormwater runoff, sedimenting a creek issues. So it's very shocking that they had the gall to come back and give us this material in that form. And I'm so glad that a lot of you caught that. And I think that once the people who live in that little community realize how they were almost hoodooed, they're not going to be happy either. They may be filling the chamber at the next meeting. But anyway, it's good that we have public input and public discourse, and I appreciate the privilege of participating.
Thank you, Wilson. I'd like to thank the staff, Ms. Burns, the whole entire staff for the good job they're doing for our citizens of Anderson County, especially Mr. Carroll's staff working so hard getting the Christmas lights up, and the ladies decorating the trees and all. Good ceremony last Friday. Also having the music playing at the courthouse, first time in a long time. I wish it was going 24/7. And it is a good thing, gets us into Christmas season. And Matt, Noah Jackson will be adjourned.
Andy, give me the Andy.